So, Leaving Cert high level students need to be familiar with cubic sequences as well. So it's very useful to look up the video on quadratic sequences first. That's going to just refresh your memory quite nicely to set us up to how we actually work with cubic sequences and find the nth term of these. So let's take, for example, the following cubic sequence. -1, 13, 51, 125 and 247. And as always, we'll start analysing the differences. So here I have plus 14, here plus 38, here plus 74, and between here and here 122. So let's keep analysing the differences here. Between 14 and 38 is 24, between these two is 36, and between the last two here is 48. And then go again and analyse the differences. We have 12 between those two numbers and 12 again between those two numbers. So you can see straight away with a cubic sequence we have to go to analyse the third differences before we get a consistent change. Okay, so that's what's going to tell you straight away that this is a cubic sequence. It has the same third difference. So now the form of a cubic is going to be an cubed plus bn squared plus cn plus d. That's the form of any cubic. So again, this is something that you need to be familiar with and remember. And we're going to do step 1. Similar approach to how we did the quadratic sequence. Again, to find your a, there is one element that you have got to remember. A will always be 1/6 of the third difference. Okay, so if you remember with quadratic sequence, it was half the second difference gave you the a. This time with a cubic sequence, it's 1/6 the third difference will give you the a. Okay, so that's a little element you're going to have to remember. So a therefore is equal to 2. All right, now step 2 is again a similar approach to with quadratic sequences. We are going to use the fact that we know that term 1 is -1, and we are going to fill all that information as well as the a being 2 into this form as much and as best we can. So what we end up with is the first term is equal to, subbing 1 for the n, 1 cubed plus b times 1 squared plus c times 1 plus d. Again, as I said, we can fill in the a as well. A of course is 2, so subbing 2. And you know what the first term is. The first term is, of course, -1. Tidy up the number work. And I'm left with -3 is equal to b plus c plus d. Okay, and there's the first equation I have to work with. All right, step 2, I'm going to do, or sorry, should I say step 3? Similar approach. But rather than the first term, I'm going to come back here and take a look at my second term. I know my second term is 13. Okay, so therefore term 2 is 13. And we're going to fill that in as best we can into our cubic form. So instead of n, we're putting in 2. And of course, we know what a is as well. A is, of course, 2. Two cubed is 8. 8 times 2, of course, is 16. And we know this all should work out to be 13. So fill that in as well. Tidy up the number work. I get -3 is equal to 4b plus 2c plus d. Okay, so step 4. Now, the thing is, I don't have enough information to be able to jump straight into simultaneous equations with what I have for my step 2 process and my step 3 process, because I have 2 equations, but I have 3 unknowns. I don't know B, C, or D this time. So in my step 4 with a cubic sequence, I'm going to get some more information from my sequence from the start. So I'm going to go to the third term now. And I know that the third term is 51, so I'm going to use this now to generate another equation for myself in B, C, and D. Then what I will have is 3 equations with 3 unknowns, and I'll be able to solve them simultaneously. So, subbing in 3 for n, I end up with a times 3 cubed plus b times 3 squared plus c times 3 plus d. And of course I know what my a is, it's 2. And I know that this all has to work out to be, of course, 51. 2 times 3 cubed, remember you got to do the powers always first. 3 cubed is 27 times 2 is 54. Tidy up the number work. Take away 54 from both sides, and I'm left with minus 3 is equal to 9b plus 3c plus d. And there we go. There's my third equation now with 3 unknowns. And once I've got 3 equations with 3 unknowns, I'll be able to solve all of those simultaneously to find my b, c, and d. So if you remember from your solving simultaneous equations with 3 equations, we'll take 2 at a time first, and we'll eliminate a variable, and then take another 2 different ones and eliminate the same variable. So I'm going to take the first 2. And I'm already set up quite nicely to eliminate the d's. All I need to do is make sure 1 is a minus, so I'm going to multiply the bottom line by minus 1. Minus 1 times minus 3 is plus 3, minus 1 times 4b is minus 4b, minus 1 times 2c is minus 2c, and minus 1 times d is minus d. And so they cancel quite nicely, and I'm left with 0 is equal to minus 3b minus c. Okay, so now I'm going to take these 2 and I'm just going to make sure that I eliminate the same variable again. So I'm going to do the same thing, multiply the bottom line by minus 1, and that will line up the d's nicely to cancel. So the top line stays the same. Minus 1 times minus 3 is 3, minus 1 times 9b is minus 9b, minus 1 times 3c is minus 3c, and minus 1 times d is minus d. And so I'm left with 0 again here. 4b minus 9b is minus 5b, and 2c minus 3c is minus c. Okay, so now using these 2 equations, I'm going to put these together and solve these simultaneously. And the c's are nicely set up here, but I just need to change one sign. So one's a minus and one's a plus. That way they'll cancel. So multiplying the bottom line, top line stays the same. Bottom line by minus 1 times 0 is 0, minus 1 times minus 5 is 5b, of course, and minus 1 times minus c is plus c. And now they set up quite nicely to cancel. Still left with 0, and I have 5b minus 3b, which is 2b, divide both sides by 2, and I'm still left with b is equal to 0. Take that answer now, and we'll sub it into one of the originals here, because we want to solve for c next. And so I'm getting minus 3 times 0 minus c, which is equal to 0 minus c, which is equal to c is equal to 0 as well. Okay, so you have b and c now. So go back to one of the originals right at the top. Let's take the very first one, and we'll sub in our values for b and c. So doing that then, that very top first equation I got was minus 3 plus equals b plus c plus d. We know b is 0 now, we know c is 0 now as well. So subbing those 2 values in, d works out to be minus 3. Okay, and there's your final unknown. So now going back to our cubic form, And recapping, A we got, of course, was 2, B is 0, C is 0, and D is minus 3. So that gives me 2n cubed, that's nothing, and minus 3. And that is the nth term of that cubic sequence.